Okay, welcome everyone to the February general meeting of the Council of Fort Lauderdale Civic Associations. We're glad you're all here. We'll start by conducting roll call. Mary, over to you.
Okay, we're just going to do the roll call for the board. Shirley, I think needs to mute. Can you mute Shirley? Thank you. Okay, here we go. Board member Michael Albetta.
I am here.
Okay. Melinda Bauer.
I'm here.
Louis Castillo.
I am here.
Jim Concannon.
I am here.
Christina Curry.
Present.
Colleen obviously is here. Marilyn Mamano.
I too am here.
All right. Kelly Manning.
I am also here.
All right. Mary Peliquin, hello. Kathy
I am here.
and Dennis Ulmer.
Present.
Okay, all board members are present. And again, anybody that's just logging in, that's not on the board, if you haven't already, put your name and civic association in the chat. That would be very appreciated by me. Thank you. Okay, Colleen.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, so before we introduce our speakers, just general membership announcements. For those that don't know, Keith Farrell, our senior fellow and neighborhood support liaison, has moved over to become a budget advisory analyst. So our new liaison for the council is the wonderful Jessica Wilkes. So we'll be hearing from her more in the coming months, and we look forward to working with her. Also, just a reminder to everyone, the Parks and Rec has opened up the Park Bond portal. So please do weigh in, have your residents in your neighborhood weigh in on the suggested improvements for your park. I believe that the comments and suggestions and residents' input is going to be taken through the end of February. So Phil Thornburg has asked us to make sure that you guys are reminded to do that. And I think the last announcement is just a special presentation that Mary has organized and put together and produced that we're going to talk briefly about. It's talking about council membership. So Mary, I will share that screen and turn it over to you.
All right, well, I'm not going to talk too much right now. We have some valuable words from some very notable people about membership in the council. So before we begin, I suggest that you turn up the volume because some of them are soft-spoken, only some of them. So if I can get the attention of the woman in the booth, if you are all set. Okay, it looks like we're good to go. Well, you know what? Roll film.
Hi, I'm Mayor Dean Trantalis of the city of Fort Lauderdale. We have a great community and a great city, but what makes up its parts, the people, and how we engage one another and how we get things done is through our associations, our civic associations, our condo associations, our neighborhood groups. It's so important that we remain engaged. That's how we continue to be great. And that's why we need you to be part of this group. So the Council of Civic Associations is indeed a great organization. Be a part of it and make a difference. Thank you.
Oh.
Good.
Hi, this is Fort Lauderdale Vice Mayor Steve Glassman. It's a pleasure to be with you all this evening. Just want to take a few moments and let you know why I think the Council of Fort Lauderdale Civic Associations is so vital to our city. Please know that my activism began as the president of my neighborhood association, the Central Beach Alliance, for 7 years. And I saw firsthand how important grassroots activism is. And I'm constantly amazed when I go to all of the neighborhood association meetings in my district, how passionate these people are, how intelligent they are, and how in tune they are to city issues. Your council presents a wonderful forum so that everyone can share ideas and learn and express their opinions and give input. And that input is vital to the City Commission. So again, I just wanted to say thank you for the work you do and your service. And please know how very, very important it is to our city and how much you are all appreciated. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Commissioner Moritas. Nothing is more important to me than getting input from our neighbors. I implore you to join the Council of Fort Lauderdale Civic Association so that you can be more informed, be involved with other neighborhood leaders, and bring all that information back to improve the neighborhood where you live. It's a great organization, and I hope you will consider joining today.
Hello, this is Fort Lauderdale City Commissioner Ben Sorensen. I proudly represent District 4 in the city of Fort Lauderdale, and I want to thank the Council of Fort Lauderdale Civic Associations for all their amazing work they do on behalf of our residents, our city, and please be part of the Council of Fort Lauderdale Civic Associations. It's so important to be engaged. They provide invaluable insight into what's going on in our neighborhoods, what are people concerned about, what direction should we be taking as city commissioners. So the Council of Fort Lauderdale Civic Associations makes our city better, and it makes us as elected leaders even more effective. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
My first Council of Fort Lauderdale Civic Association meetings was in 2017 when I became the representative for the Coral Ridge Association. When I walked into that room on the 8th floor, I didn't know a soul. But it didn't take long for the then president, Ron the Cop, to introduce me to several very friendly members, and I've been on a roll ever since. Being in the council has given me the opportunity to ask questions and learn from various city leaders. And also, I've gotten some great advice from my fellow Civic Association members. Working in a group like this has a lot of power. I know who to call for particular issues now, and I have a new appreciation for my city and its people. Speaking of people, I think one of the biggest perks for being in the council is making new friends and learning about their neighborhoods. I have always worked in a very diverse environment, and I've loved that. And being in the council allows me to volunteer in a very diverse environment, which I love also. I think everybody needs to get out of their own zip code from time to time. The opportunity to learn and forge new relationships and friendships is boundless when being part of the council.
There are so many reasons to join the Council of Fort Lauderdale Civic Associations, but if you ask me what's one of those reasons that's important, it's being connected. Being connected in our city, being connected with your neighbor, being connected with our neighborhoods. There's a lot of things that go on in Fort Lauderdale, and it's a group that's very engaged and one that takes positions on topics, and they're heard. And so if there's a place that you need to be a part of Fort Lauderdale, the council is that.
You want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Let's go far together. There's a lot of power in a group like this, so be part of it. Join the Council of Fort Lauderdale Civic Association. Join today if you haven't already. I have to laugh at that video because when I first came there, Ron, who I'd never laid eyes on, did introduce himself as Ron the Cop. And I was kind of confused. I go, well, what's really your name? I thought maybe he was like some kind of actor or something like that. But he said, nobody knows who Ron Centimore is. Everybody knows who Ron the Cop is, you know, and to this day, that's still true. I think a lot of it has to do with the council. The other thing is I have to give credit to, and this is a very long title for this person, the interim assistant chief of police, Dr. Gregory Salter, for that. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. It's an African proverb that he quoted at our December meeting. It's kind of stuck with me ever since. It's kind of become my little saying. So that's all for membership right now. We will talk later in the evening, so prepare yourself. With that, Colleen, I give the meeting back to you.
So first of all, I guess there's a hint as to one of the agenda topics tonight is the membership, renew your membership for the council. This flows very nicely into that. Secondly, huge bravo to Mary Peliquin, our first vice president, for putting this together, embedding the videos, getting the speakers to come on. Bravo, very, very well done. Why don't we all show some love to Mary in the chat? Really, really great job, Mary. Congratulations. Who doesn't want to join the council now, right? Okay. So we are back to our agenda. I'll just pull up the formal agenda, and if folks could mute their phone, please. If you're not speaking, could you please mute your phone? Okay, Jim, Mary, and Melinda, can you track down and start muting people if you don't mind? Okay, so we have in order here speakers, City Manager Chris Lagerbloom, Dr. Rader, and Daphne Sainville, Government and External Affairs Manager. Chris, if you are here, can you unmute and give us a general city update? Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate hearing from you every month. It's very valued.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Colleen, and thank you to the group for having me again. So as not to be a redundant record, I thought I would talk just briefly about changes in our COVID response, but I don't want this to be a whole COVID update. I'd like to bring the group up to speed on a couple of important and timely things. One is that major sewer project that we started over a year ago now, and give you an update as to where those segments are, because there's starting to be closing impacts along the route of that pipe. And I'd like to show you what that looks like, as well as solicit your input to the Parks Bond project. And for those that haven't seen how the Park Bond website works, I'm hoping that I can show you that in a quick little tour as well. So, certainly others tonight that we look forward to hearing from. So since the last time we've talked, we have moved, and the days run together, maybe we've talked since then, but we've moved our vaccine site from Holiday Park down to Snyder Park. We figured we were in it for the long haul, so everything that was happening at Holiday has moved to Snyder. It's a great park to run a vaccine site in. We can get most of the cars off of the main road into the park. It's a natural, beautiful park to sit in as you wait to weave your way through the line to get to the vaccine sites. And it's set up very nicely, and we set it up for the long haul. You know, we recognize that while the weather's nice right now, it's going to be really hot in July and August, and that's going to be a really long day out there. So we've put some tents up that have some shade offerings, and we're ready to just keep that up and running as long as we possibly need it. Thanks to the Fraternal Order of Police today, they provided lunch to all the medical first responders, the doctors, nurses, vaccinators, and others that were out at the site making it run today. So it'll be one of those things that we just can't forget that they're in it for the long haul too, and let's not forget that we need to thank them for their day-long service. Every day they go out there to just see car after car after car. We've got two sites up in Fort Lauderdale right now. The other one is at the Inter Miami CF Soccer Stadium at the Lockhart Park. Each site is doing about 1,000 vaccines a day at this point. So they've reached their initial capacity, what they were hoping to get to. And still two websites to get signed up for a vaccine. Either browardhealth.org, or if you search in any of the search engines, now Florida has a statewide system that you can get into a queue to be able to schedule at any of the Department of Health sites. So we keep moving forward with that, and we understand that vaccines are our way out of this COVID time, and so we're set up to do more than 1,000 a day. As quick as we can get additional doses, we really don't have to set anything else up. We can just administer them in the two sites that we have set up in Fort Lauderdale. I'll keep an eye on the chat box in case there happens to be any questions that happen along the way. I'm going to pivot from COVID then tonight, and if you'll allow me to, I'm going to share my screen here so that you can get some ideas to where we are with this sewer project. So can you imagine a year ago we were talking about nothing but sewer pipes, and now we're talking about everything that has to do with the pandemic. So I'll walk us through this map real quick to just give you some sense as to where we are. Let me start with the end in mind. If I go down here to the bottom of the screen, you can see that already in the ground is just short of 30,000 linear feet. 30,000 linear feet, that's already complete with the remaining 6,675 feet to go. So as that pipe works its way from the Coral Ridge Country Club, which is where it starts up here, if you can see my pointer on the screen, that's in the middle of the driving range, and it works its way south down Bayview Drive. Then it works its way out to the west and comes then south on, I guess that's, what street does that come south on? I guess it's 15th Avenue. We've seen that pipe set up there. It works its way down to just beyond Holiday Park, goes out to the west a little bit, and then works its way down to the plant on 17th Street. From this area at the Himmershy Canal to the plant itself has already been turned on. So we have the pipe functioning from the Himmershy Canal all the way down to the plant. So this gives you some idea as to when the pipe installation is going to complete and when the paving restoration is going to happen. I promise when we walk away from this project, we're going to have all new roads that we've torn up over the period of the last year. And really what's taking the time now are the connections. And so when the pipe makes a turn, we can't do directional drilling around the turn. So we do, like Green, for example, where my pointer is all a directional drill. Then we have to open cut this corner, and that takes a little bit of time, and then we can pull again. So really we're on the finishing phases of this project. It is safe to say that we will be done and restored by June. I hope that it's sooner than that, but you're going to start to see some of the impacts that we've all dealt with. The Bayview impact particularly, you're going to start to see it go away in the short term. So appreciate again everybody's patience as we worked on this massive project. But knock on wood, we've had we've had good luck with it, and I can only hope that we get it finished and then just keep going because our needs haven't changed. So that's a quick update on the sewer pipe project. And then if you'll allow me to, and then I'll take whatever questions there are. If you'll allow me to show here you don't want my inbox, although I'd be happy to turn it over to anybody who might want to work on it for me.
Towards the builders. Contract. No, they don't. They have a formula.
And let me share the parks screen here. So would love to get your feedback on our parks projects. There's going to be many opportunities for the public to weigh in, but I also want to show you how you can watch our progress there. This is just, as you can see, I started by just doing a quick search as to Fort Lauderdale Parks Bond in any search engine. It's going to be the first thing, hopefully, that pops up after the actual action itself, which is ftlparksprojects.com, ftlparksprojects.com. You're going to get a nice welcome message from Mayor Trantalis. So we can either sit here and listen to the mayor, or I'll pause him when he introduces himself. But he gives a great welcome message as to what this site is about. And feel free to listen to that on your own time. A couple of tabs up at the top of the page that are important to see. One is a program dashboard. And this will give you an overall sense as to how we're making progress with the Parks Bond and with the execution and what areas we're spending money. So this will give you a quick dashboard. They've spent 32 million of the 200 million. They've spent it in this certain types of spending, whether it's land acquisition, renovations, et cetera. You can come down and see what actually those projects are, how much money was spent on the project, and then what remains in the bond. So as we start to bring things out of the ground and start to do work, you can track it very easily here. And then there's the timeline that shows the different phases of this bond to implement it in the short term, so that we make the investment back in the community that the voters voted for. One other tab that's important here is a park finder. This is very interactive. If you've ever wondered where all of our parks are in Fort Lauderdale, you can come to the park finder and you can search by all sorts of different ways. You can go by commission district, you can go by name, you can go by clicking on the map. But let's just say, for example, we wanted to talk about this property that we just bought on Waverly Road in Sailboat Bend. If we were to click that, it would take us to the park, and then we could actually go to an app where we can provide feedback. And so if you click the app, you're going to end up in a virtual session, which would be much like a charrette if we were meeting in public. You can walk around the room and look at different things and how to do and listen to videos. The important thing is right over here on the side of all of these is where you can provide feedback. And if you're to provide feedback, it's going to ask you generally just what you have thoughts about with respect to that individual park. So this is more probably for parks that would be adjacent to you in your neighborhoods or in your areas. If you want to provide us feedback, it's active and going now. Provide your feedback, and your name is optional. If you just want to give us comments and don't want to own it with a name, that's fine. But we will then be compiling all this information to start to develop what the programs look like in all of the different parks, so that we get it right and do what the public is hoping for in execution of the park bond. So again, Parks Bond Parks, FTLParksProjects.com, FTLParksProjects.com. We'll get you started there and you can start to provide us your feedback. So that's a quick update tonight on COVID, on sewer pipes and parks. And I'm happy to take any questions, and I'm scanning the chat box now. Looks like Mary has her hand up. I don't know if that means she has a question or not, but
Yes, I do. And forgive me for kind of putting you on the spot a little bit, but being in Coral Ridge, at our last meeting, we heard that they are gonna be working on putting in another pipe from George English, really the corner of, I think, Sunrise and Bayview, all the way north to 21st Street, which I understand why that is. We were kind of caught off guard about that. But my concern is Bayview Drive is supposed to be completely redone. We have a whole traffic calming plan in 2022. So I want you to promise me, and realize it's being recorded, that sewer line from George English to Northeast 21st Street will be finished before 2022, because I don't want to lose another year to sewers.
so I'll check on that to be sure. I think my whole life is recorded, so I'm not concerned about that anymore. Yeah, I'll check on that to be sure. We don't want to do work twice. And that's not efficient, and that's just it doesn't even pass the common sense factor. So yeah, we'll we don't want to impact your project. Let me just confirm that, Mary, and I'll be back in touch with you.
All right, thank you very much.
Excuse me, Chris, this is Michael Albetta.
Hey, Michael.
How you doing? This is just an accolade. Dickey Consulting did a marvelous job with the project they're doing on 13th Street on the northwest side, and then also the connection that they're going to be coming into Lake Ridge in a couple of weeks, and just phenomenal. The whole architect engineering was there. The engineers, they did a phenomenal presentation to the board. And if this is just a message to each and every one of you on this line right now, if they're coming into your area, they will give a full presentation. And that's just the FNFYI. And be proud, Chris. They cross their T's and dot their I's. Spot on, really. Thank you.
Great, thank you for the feedback.
Yep.
I see there is a question of when is the roadway of Cordova going to be paved? Is the seawall finished? The seawall is nearing completion. The road is always the last thing to do, although I've got to tell you, I was through there just earlier today, and that's quite a ride down Cordova Road. So I added it to my list to check in with Public Works. There's a couple of those bumps along the way that are bumpier than even I think we should have during a construction project. So I'll take that feedback as well and bring it back to the department with some questions. Anybody else? There's a question here that says, are we continuing to identify feeder lines into the main sewer line that may need replacement? All of their priorities that have been identified. The answer to that is yes. Sewer systems run from laterals to then gravity mains, to then forced mains, to then transmission mains. And all of those feed one into the other. Whereas the main spine of our system, while being very impactful because of its size and the amount of volume that it flows, was a major project, yes. Equally as important are the force mains that feed into it. And when we start to get into the gravity system, we're doing a lot of relining and doing that relining work now. And that eliminates the I&I that we all dearly know and talk about, as well as gives those pipes new life as well. Marilyn, sorry?
This is John Burns. Is there a redundant sewer pipe? The new one that's just been fixed, is the old one being rehabbed or is it just being abandoned?
So the answer to that is one of the two. When we were early on in the project, it just naturally to me seemed as though relining the pipe made sense from a fiscal perspective, that it was that was the better option. I've since come to learn that actually may be more expensive than just simply putting in a new redundant pipe. And so we do need a redundant system. We have a little bit of time on our side because the new pipe is new and it is intended to perform well for a period of time. But John, the answer to your question is yes. I just don't know which one. Marilyn.
Yes, I'm going to follow up with John's question, which is a question that was asked at the Infrastructure Task Force at our last meeting. The idea of having a redundant line to the new line is important. I agree with you that it's not critical once we get the new line on operational because it's a new line. But do you have any idea how much it would cost to rehabilitate the existing line so that we would have redundancy, and any estimation on when that would be inputted into the CIP plan?
Yeah, so number one, we have to identify where that pipe is going to go. And, when there was some thought about just rehabbing the old line, the thought also was that in the spirit of true redundancy, to run redundant pipes that are right next to each other is not really redundant. That's two pathways, but it's not necessarily a redundancy. In order to get a redundancy in the case of a catastrophic failure, we need to get that redundant pipe further out to the west.
Okay.
Piping obviously costs different based upon the length of it and the conditions that you go through. I'm thinking that we're probably at a $40 to $60 million pipe to get, that was what the cost of the pipe was that we just put in. And if we're attempting to put something in the ground that can be a redundant backup to it, it can't be any lesser. It really can't be any lesser than what we just put in the ground. So
Thank you.
Again, I don't know yet. I just naturally assumed that lining pipes was cheaper than putting in new pipes. And quite quickly, the engineer said, that maybe is not so true. So at this point, those types of projects would be projects that we would bond because the utility has bonding capacity. We're not going to bank money in the general fund in hopes that we bank finally is $60 million to put a pipe in the ground. So that can be built into the CIP whenever we have sufficient revenues to issue bonds to build it.
Thank you.
I think Ed has his hand up. I'm
Yeah,
seeing, and then Colleen's
yeah.
probably going to turn me off.
Yeah. No. Just I see one last question from Leanne, and if there's another hand up, feel free. So maybe 2 or 3 last questions for Chris, and then we'll thank him and let him on his way. Do you see Leanne's question?
I'm looking. I see.
What population is the new pipe rated for?
Oh, so I don't know that it's necessarily rated for a population. It's rated for a certain volume. And, our plant has certain volumes that it can treat. These pipes don't flow full all the time. And in fact, with the HDPE material, the pipe is actually a slightly smaller than the last pipe. But then we get into this fancy thing I'm going to talk not much about because they know it better than I do, but this friction loss, equation that even though the pipe is slightly smaller, we flow more through it because of no friction. And this pipe is certainly sized such that it can handle the capacity of the system and handle the capacity of what the plant at 17th Street can treat. We can treat a volume equal to about 80 to 85 million gallons a day. We never produce that much true wastewater. Those volumes get hit when we have a rainstorm event that we mix the rainwater with the wastewater. But that pipe starts at 48 inches. It works its way down to 54 inches as it starts to get closer to the pipe, and then gets up to 60 before it enters the plant on 17th Street. And Ed has a question. Ed, I can't hear you.
We'll try to unmute him. Ed,
Okay.
Okay. Ed, you're unmuted.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Sure can.
Yes. When it comes to selection of some parks, and we as Lauderdale Harbors have been wanting a park in the area besides Cliff Lake, what are the criteria you're looking for? What makes it hit that get on your list?
So the first criteria we look at was a commission directive when they adopted a resolution that said we needed to have a park within a 10-minute walk of every residence in Fort Lauderdale. So that was the first criteria. And that was a computer that generated sort of bubbles and polygons on a map and said, if you want to put a park in, if you need a park within a 10-minute walk, these are the places that don't have parks. So start by looking there. After that, then it would just be criteria. You know, it's always nice if it's a pocket park in a neighborhood to have it on a corner. But really, it's each park has its own unique qualities to it. And so, you know, there's been some parks that have been proposed in places of the city that the commission liked and the Parks and Rec and Beaches Advisory Board liked, and some that they didn't. So a lot of that is very subjective, but it's subjective of boards that are composed of people that you know, from the city. So it's not that we have a parks director that's sitting there making those decisions in a vacuum. Colliers, our land real estate group, makes a recommendation, brings forward parcels that are available. I do my best to try to get as many of them engaged with a letter of interest, just so I have some sense as to where we could get on a price perspective to see if we could get to an appraised price, and then we take it and vet it through those two boards and let people who represent Fort Lauderdale weigh in and say, yep, that's a good spot, or no, that's not a good spot.
Okay, fair enough.
If you have a suggestion, open to it.
I've written a number of times on it, and I'll write it again. I know our park is more than 10 minutes away from where most people in the aisles get to, so. And so we're outside of that 10-minute walk.
Then that would be an area that we would definitely be looking at.
All right, good.
Thank you, Ed. Last question goes to Marilyn.
Hi, Chris. I want to congratulate the people who did the website on the Parks Bond. It was a little difficult to navigate at the beginning, but you know, it's a really good site. But I have a question about the definition of a park. And we posed this question when we were talking about the comprehensive plan as to what is the definition of a park. Many of the parks identified as existing parks end up being simply community monument entranceways and roadways adjacent to a park. And it sort of skews the information on the availability of parks in individual communities. And so I have tried to bring this to the attention of the Parks Department because you can't really bring it to their attention in the relationship to the overall program. At least I haven't figured it out how to do it yet. So I've been doing it in relationship to individual parks, so that when you look at the availability of parks on a neighborhood basis, I think you should be very careful about what you consider a park, because a neighborhood monument or a street end really does not constitute what most people think of as a park. So that is a suggestion I bring to the overall program, that you may not be capturing the need for parks because of the definition of what we call existing parks. So I just, I urge you to be cognizant of that when you're making your decisions. Thank you very much.
Great feedback and good observation. Yeah, we don't want a little tiny pocket park to all of a sudden skew a whole area that doesn't have anything else within 10 minutes. So I'm sure we have an exact definition of a park. I think it should have an active or a passive component to it and be more than just protected green space. But again, probably nothing scientific, but with a lot of good feedback, we'll hopefully get 99% of it right. Danae, I have seen your chat, and I will be in touch either later tonight or tomorrow morning by email with what you're asking for.
Fantastic, Chris. Thank you so much. Echo the accolades and continued appreciation for all you do, all your team does on behalf of the residents of the city. And just so everyone knows, I don't see JJ here with us tonight. Obviously medical emergencies are going to take priority. Are there any other thoughts you want to share related to COVID or the vaccine that you think otherwise JJ would have covered, or did you cover it?
I'm probably not your expert to share much on the virus itself, other than to say this is how we're functioning in both testing and vaccinating. And just in conclusion, all testing still occurs at Mills Pond Park. And all vaccination occurs right now at Inter Miami CF Soccer, as well as Snyder Park.
Okay, fantastic, wonderful. So a reminder to everyone that comments on the park portal for your park are due by the end of February, right? And obviously Director Thornburg is available as well for questions. So please put your thoughts and your recommendations in for your allocated investment from the park bond for your park. So Chris, fantastic. Thank you so much. We'll see you next month, if not sooner.
Sounds good. John, would you have your hand up for anything for me, or am I
Yeah,
good?
I had a quick question. The governor had some kind of teleconference today about COVID. Was there anything in that impacted Fort Lauderdale? Because I missed his conference.
I read his press releases today out of his office, and the announcements today were talking about vaccinations being done at places like Publix, Winn-Dixie, Sam's Club. When I read his press release and looked at where Broward was impacted, we were not impacted in any of the Publix announcements or the Winn-Dixie announcements, but Broward was listed as being impacted in the announcement that had to do with the other clubs. Give me 1 second here. I'm going to pull up the
Sam's Club.
Let me look here real quick. All right, and so in real time, we can say that the governor today said additional 19 vaccination sites at Walmart, public locations throughout Florida. But if you come down here where it shows the different places that are coming, Walmart and Sam's Club, this is the only place that I saw Broward County impacted. You can see Broward County is not impacted in the sites for Publix or Winn-Dixie, but Broward is listed here at Walmart and Sam's Club.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Chris. I see Dr. Getz. Okay, so we need to move on to the next agenda item. We don't want to go too long tonight, but Dr. Getz, I saw your hand first, so I'm going to give you the final question for Chris, and then we'll follow up with other questions for you, Chris, by email, and ask them by email if that's okay. So Dr. Getz, floor is yours for the last question to Chris.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, it's actually a comment in the absence of JJ. Despite the fact that the vaccinations are proceeding, it's absolutely imperative that even if you're vaccinated, you continue to wear your mask, socially distance, avoid crowds, stay indoors as much as you can. We just don't know yet whether or not somebody that's vaccinated can still become infected, like in the nose, and still spread COVID. So until more data comes in, it's absolutely imperative that everybody continues with their mitigation measures despite being vaccinated.
Thank you, Dr. Getz. Very useful. And also wear multiple layers of mask, right? So, because then that's not available. Thank you. Very, very important point to make. And Melinda and Michael, I think you guys had your hands up. Would you mind please putting your questions in the chat? If Chris is willing to stay around for a few minutes, maybe we could operate that way in order for us to move on. So thank you, Chris. Thank you very much. Our next agenda item is to introduce the External Affairs and Legislative Manager for the City of Fort Lauderdale, joining from Broward County. Enormous skill set and experience working with the state and all things related to bills and legislation and appropriation. Daphne Sainville has graced us with her presence this month, and we shared in advance the list of the city's legislative priorities. So hopefully you all have had a chance to walk through these. These are very high level in terms of fundamentally where the priorities are by category. Just so you know, Daphne recently shared this 40-page report, which details for each bill on the Senate and House side that the city is actively engaged in working on. So we're not going to go through this 40-page document. What I'm going to do is turn the floor over to Daphne. And Daphne, I can leave the legislative priority document up for you to refer to, or just turn the floor over to you to just generally share and talk.
Okay. Hi. Thanks for having me back again. I was pretty sure after the last time I was here, you would be tired of hearing about legislative priorities.
Welcome.
Thank you. So the 40-page document that I shared is now 41 pages because as Chris was going through his update, I tagged a couple more bills that have been filed. Bills will be filed up until about March 1st, which is right before the first day of regular session. So I just keep tabs on about 173 that are all related to municipalities, but most especially to the city of Fort Lauderdale in our various departments. So whether it's the executive airport, general appropriations, our legislative priorities in the document, economic development, education, human resources, public works, sustainable development, transportation, et cetera, monitoring a variety of them. It's what I call tagged bills, especially vacation rentals, and of course, the combating public disorder. So I know there's going to be a couple questions on vacation rentals. The Florida League of Cities is working on some strategies on how to mitigate, if not kill, the legislation. I know there have been requests for form letters or templates to go out. So I just wanted to give some helpful hints on how to get those form letters read. One of them is to put your own personal experience of what has happened in your neighborhoods. And the other one is that it's going to be heard, I think today is Tuesday, Wednesday, the days are blurring together. Tomorrow, the House bill will be heard in the Regulatory Reform Subcommittee at 1 p.m. So I know I am going to be in Tallahassee next week when the Senate bill is heard. I have a meeting scheduled with the Senate sponsor, Senator Diaz. He and I are pretty good. I know he's going to be pretty firm on not accepting any amendments. We have heard that Republicans are not accepting any amendments, that they are not going to be filing any amendments, but we shall see what happens. I'm also scheduled to meet with Representative Fisher, who is the House sponsor for vacation rentals. And then my second piece of advice is if you have any friends who live statewide in those rural areas or in the suburban areas that are being affected by short-term rentals or vacation areas, to have them also write in to those particular district representatives, because those personal stories really hit home. A lot of them say it's not affecting my district. It doesn't affect my area. It doesn't affect Hendry County. It doesn't affect Polk or Pinellas or Lake County, but it does. And if it does, and you know people who are in that area, it's helpful for them to tell their story. This bill is ironically reminiscent to when the TNCs, the Transportation Network Company bills, that's the Uber and Lyft bills, passed a couple years ago. We feel that the legislature is taking advantage of COVID and not having members of the public come up, not having commissioners come up, less lobbying, less lobbyists like moi going up and being in their office because the Capitol is locked down. But we are doing our best to write mandatory language to mitigate the negative effect that it has by completely voiding out the city's ordinance. We're looking at grandfathering in our ordinance. We may not be able to make future changes to make it more stringent, but it's a trade-off that is being discussed by the League of Cities. So that's my update for vacation rentals, for combating public disorder. There was a small update. The Senate bill hasn't been agended at all. It's just been filed, and the House bill is still sitting in its committee. It's not going anywhere yet. I have a couple meetings scheduled for that as well. And those are my two main updates. If anybody has any questions, let me look at the chat box.
So just to clarify, Daphne, you're looking for, we issued a letter opposing the vacation rental bill last year. We'd be happy to discuss that, doing so again, and your recommendation to include concrete examples, like real life examples of what's happening on specific city blocks, and reaching out to others in other counties as well. Are good recommendations. Also, Dr. Getz asked about who do we send this to. I think we have that standard list of people that we should be sending this communication to. So I mean, we can clear that with you, but I think we have that we can share out with the members as well.
Okay, I have the updated committee list. It's been referenced in 3 committees, so I can definitely send over a PDF of those, the members that sit in each committee.
That would be terrific. And okay to share out the 41-page, and now 41-page document as well?
Yes, my goal is to update it as long as bills are being filed. Majority of them, they're duplicates. So it's going to be one House bill for one Senate bill, because you have to have the companion bill for it to be somewhat successful in the legislature. But we know from history that they don't follow their own rules. So there have been House bills filed with no Senate companion, but they still managed to make it onto the floor for a vote.
Fantastic. So open the floor for questions. I think Marilyn has her hand up. And any other specific questions from folks about outstanding legislation or pending legislation that you have questions about or concerns about? Go ahead, Marilyn.
Thank you very much. I cannot tell you, Daphne, how delighted I am to have you. And I'm so appreciative that the city actually hired a specific person to do this job. Although we do spend a not insignificant amount of money on lobbyists in Fort Lauderdale, I was never of the opinion that they really connected with the local people in terms of getting the necessary political juice to accomplish some of these things. And I just want to tell the members that I cannot emphasize enough what she said about communicating with the relevant members of the people who actually do the voting. Because so many times it happens that what happens up in Tallahassee, we don't pay any attention to, but they end up affecting our lives. And the key example of this is vacation rentals. They have preempted our ability, or they want to continue to preempt our ability to locally control vacation rentals. And that is only one example. I can, Daphne and we can go on and on about other examples. But the real key thing that she's telling you is what we've been saying in a number of years. And we've been doing it locally. We've been sending emails to various neighborhood associations to send out those emails with personal stories to connect with the legislators. That is the only way you get action up in Tallahassee. And we have to put the pressure not only on our representatives, Senator Farmer, Representative Chip LaManca, all of the local Broward County representatives to fight very hard to stop the state from preempting the ability to regulate vacation rentals. And then we have to go further than that and go, as Daphne said, find all of our relatives and friends upstate and push them to also lobby against this type of preemption. Preemption is a bad thing. I shouldn't say that. I will not say that. There are some areas that need preemption, things that the state needs to do that they cannot accomplish on a local level. I'm a planner. I agree with that.
Marilyn,
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
no, I'm stopping. I'm stopping.
Did you?
I get on my soapbox and I'm stopping. Support Daphne and all that she's doing. That's all I'm saying.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Did you have a specific question?
No, just support Daphne in this effort.
Okay, wonderful. John?
I have a specific question, Daphne. Since I live in an area that has a lot of older high-rise condominiums, is there anything happening with the emergency life safety system bill that's been in front of the legislature over the past couple of sessions, but never has gotten to the governor for approval?
Not that I'm aware of, but I will look into it and get back to you on that one.
Okay.
Anybody else with a question? Daphne, that's amazing. Great job.
Awesome. I do want to say thank you, and thank you to Chris. It's because of Chris I'm here before you. So
can Daphne put her information in chat, her contact information?
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
So I'm looking forward to working with you all, updating you as session goes on. I usually send out a Friday night, early Saturday morning update to the commissioners and to our managers, and I will see if I can get that out to you as well as an association, so you know what important bills we're watching and what we're doing for the next week.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Daphne. That was really terrific. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll go back to our agenda. I think our next topic before Marilyn reports on the elections is just a brief, actually member highlights. I don't recall and I don't believe that we have any neighborhoods signed up to do the 60-second round robin this month, but I was mistaken last month. So I'm just putting it out there. Is anybody from any neighborhood ready to pitch their neighborhood for 60 seconds to talk about your neighborhood and the relevant attractions and why people live there and its history, all the marvelous examples we've had from prior months? Anybody? Okay, all right, great. Moving on. Membership, Mary, over to you.
Okay, I'm back. I'm just writing a note here. Make sure to get my name on Daphne's email list. So might be something you guys want to do. We did talk about membership a little bit earlier in the meeting. You guys might recall. What I want to say right now is I do have 21 of you who have attempted to renew your membership. 11 civic associations have already filled out their application and paid. And I have 6 civic associations, I think so far, Melinda might correct me later, that have paid but no form. So I will be looking for you. And it is, in this age of COVID, I think it's almost a little bit easier sometimes to join because you can do it all online. You can go right to our website, the Council of Fort Lauderdale, that's our initials.org, and click on membership. You can fill out the form right there. You do have to print it and scan it. I know that can be a little much, and if it is, you can still mail it in. But if you can print it and scan it and email it to me, and they just pay by PayPal, Melinda and I are a pretty good team at keeping track of who's paid and who's done what. So, as I said in the video earlier, being a part of this group can be very powerful. And if we work together, I had this one speaker one time. He's a very famous man. I don't want to say his name because I want to take credit for what he said. But he said, you know, we all ride together. And when he said that, I immediately thought he meant on horseback because that's the sport that I used to do when I was a little younger. And then somebody else says, oh no, he means motorcycles. And another person later said, oh, I thought he meant, you know, on a boat. And, yeah, a couple of bicycles, car, whatever, but we do all ride together in this city. And the more we work together, the more we can help each other. And there's a lot of power in that, as I like to say. So please go on out if you haven't already done it. Those of you who have know who you are. And fill out your application. Spend $50. It's a great deal. And we'll get moving for this new year starting April 1st. So, but you can get your money in before that. So that's all I have to say. If you have any questions about it, you can email me. I'm pretty good at getting back to everybody. It's Mary Peliquin, my name, all one word, @gmail.com. Thanks.
Fantastic, Mary. And what a great representation of membership for the council. Thank you. Long and short of it is it's time to renew your membership. Please do. Okay. So thank you very much all. All right. Next agenda item, we will vote next month on the new slate of board of directors. So we have a slate here. I'm going to turn it over to you, Marilyn, and I'm happy to share your report if you'd like to talk from that or from this document. Which do you prefer?
This document is fine. Thank you very much, Colleen.
Okay.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I am about to read the report of the 2021 Election Nominating Committee because this is a solemn bylaws type of an item. I am not going to ad lib. I'm going to read directly from the report. So here it goes. Pursuant to the bylaws of the Council of Fort Lauderdale Civic Associations, we are submitting this report on behalf of the Nominating Committee for 2021-2022 officers and boards of directors. The committee is required to provide a proposed slate of officers and directives at the February general meeting, that's today, in odd years. Nominations can be taken from the membership up to and including the March general membership meeting, at which time the nominations are closed and a vote is taken at the April general membership meetings. At the January 12, 2021 general membership meeting, the following members of the nominating committee were approved. Linda Maddox-Burt from District 1, District 2, Barbara Weinstein, District 3, Frankie Lane, and District 4, Barbara McGill. And the immediate past president is by the bylaws a member of the nominating committee. Dennis Ulmer, chair of committees, facilitated a virtual meeting of the members which took place on January 27, 2021. At that meeting, the immediate past chair, Marilyn Mamano, was elected as chair. The committee proceeded to discuss the current board members who volunteered to remain or change positions and new volunteers who indicated a willingness to serve. The eligibility of all of the volunteers to serve was verified by the current vice president, Mary Poloquin, who also is the membership chair. She also confirmed that all of their respective neighborhood organizations are members in good standing with the council. The proposed slate is President Colleen Lockwood, First Vice President Mary Poloquin, Second Vice President Louis Castillo, Corresponding Secretary Jim Concannon, Recording Secretary Kathy Stubbs, Treasurer Melinda Borka, and District 1 Representative Emily Lachlan from Coral Ridge Association. I mentioned that because it is required that they be from their civic associations. District 2, Michael Albetta, Lakewood Civic Association. District 3, vacant, although we do have a volunteer, Frankie Lane from the Rock Island Homeowners Association. And District 4, vacant, although we do have a volunteer of Barbara Miguel from the Lauderdale Harbors Association. Chair of committees, Dennis Ulmer. I will note it that members of the nominating committee who also want to volunteer must be nominated from the floor. And that is my report, respectively submitted September 9, 2021, Marilyn Mamano, chair. So we have 2 vacant positions that we do have volunteers from who are members of the nominating committee. And in order to accept their nominations as part of the slate, they need to be nominated from the floor. So do I have anyone who would nominate Mr. Frankie Lane from Rock Island to be the representative from District 3?
Yes, I will nominate Frankie Lane to be the district representative from District 3.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
This is Michael Albetta. I would definitely like to second Frankie Lane from that civic association. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do I have an affirmative vote from the membership from the members to nominate Frankie Lane for District 3? I guess if everybody just raise their hands, Mary or Mary can take that as an affirmative. Or perhaps the best way to do this would be, is there anybody who is opposed to Frankie Lane being nominated as the District 3 representative? Speak now. Hearing none, I will accept that nomination, and I am told by Frankie Lane that he will accept the position. So Frankie Lane is added to the slate of nominees. Yippee! And in addition, the next item would be, do I hear a nomination from the floor for Barbara McGill to be the representative from District 4?
I so nominate.
Okay, we got Ed. We got multiple seconds. Okay, very good. I got nominated in second. Rather than go for the affirmative, is there anyone who is in opposition to Barbara McGill being the representative for District 4? Speak now. Hearing no one in opposition, Barbara McGill is added to the slate as the representative of District 4. Thank you very much, and I want to thank the members of the nominating committee who worked on this, this is their second time around, and I really, really want to thank them for taking on the obligation to participate in this process, and I hand it back over to you, Colleen.
Fantastic job, Marilyn. Well done. Thank you all. We have such an illustrious group. We're so privileged and honored to have the newcomers joining us, and thank you for stepping up and stepping in. Just one, Michael Albetta is from Lake Ridge, not Lakewood Civic Association. So we'll just correct that in the notes at some point. So
thank you. Thank you.
So we'll officially vote. It's not to say And Marilyn, this is a question for you.
Yes,
Anyone
Deb,
else that decides that they want to run for any of these positions, are there opportunities between now and next month?
Yes, ma'am. Anyone can self-nominate themselves for any position up to and including the March meeting. At the March meeting, the nominations, if there are no other nominations, are closed, and we vote in April.
We vote in April. Okay,
That's
great.
it.
Thanks for clarifying. Okay, great job. Any questions from anyone? Fantastic, Marilyn. Thank you so much. Okay, so we have a couple items of business. Can I hear a motion to review and accept the minutes from the January 12th general meeting?
I'll motion.
Second. Fantastic. Any opposed? Minutes pass. Thank you. Melinda, I'll stop sharing if you have your treasurer's report to pull up on the screen, if you don't mind.
Or Colleen. So I'll just quickly pull up the treasurer's report as of today, February 9. Can you all see that?
Yes.
So so just briefly following on from some of Mary's update, we are in our period of renewals now for the year that officially starts April 1st, 2021. But everyone who's paying now is officially renewing or joining for that year. So our account balances have gone up. I can report since I last spoke to this membership on January 12. And the SunTrust account here, you see we've gone up. We've got 11,610. 46 cents. That's gone up about 300, which I believe was 6 checks that have come in. And then we also are taking plenty of payments in our PayPal account, which of course is one of the easiest ways to pay. We've had 8 PayPal payments since I last spoke to you. The total in that account is now $1,206.55 for a total in all accounts now of $12,817. And I'll just quickly move you to here. I always attach to the treasurer's report our membership log, which I also supply to Mary in Excel format. So here is our list so far, just for this new fiscal year, 17 paid member associations. So we're doing well. And just kudos to Central Beach Alliance. You were the first to pay this year. And I'll take any comments or questions.
Fantastic, Melinda. As always, fantastic report. Thank you very much. So I am pleased to announce that we have been joined by Dr. Rader. He is very, very busy. So he is joining despite my saying to him he didn't have to. He is here. And JJ, if you want to give a quick 3 to 5 minutes and we won't keep you, would love to hear from you on anything you want to share in terms of priority for us that we need to know right now this month, vaccine, masks, et cetera. Thank you, JJ.
Thank you for having me again. Apologies I couldn't make it in time, but me telling you that I was extremely busy obviously is not necessarily a great sign, right? So about 4 or 5 weeks ago, the numbers started going up. That was about 1 or 2 weeks past the new year. Not quite unexpected, where lots of family gatherings were happening and people reporting the virus across state borders. Subsequent to that, the numbers started coming down again. Now, statewide, the numbers are down again. Actually, nationwide and worldwide, the numbers are down. Some people have attributed that to the initiation of the vaccine programs, but I don't necessarily think that's necessarily the case. Only about 8% of people have been vaccinated in the US. That would not explain a 40% drop in cases. I think what's happening is that there might be a new variant that's making its rounds. Everybody always talks about the bad variants, like the Brazilian, the British, and the South African variant. But there are usually milder variants going around also. And as those start prevailing, you're going to see less severe disease. Now, as far as the vaccine is concerned, people have asked me, which vaccine should I get? My answer to that is simple. Get the one you can get. At this point, beggars can be choosers. So the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is going for approval this week by the CDC. I expect them to get approval. That vaccine may actually accelerate things dramatically because it's a single vaccine as opposed to 2 shots. As far as the effectiveness, the advertised effectiveness based on the study in the US was about 80%, as opposed to 90 to 95% for the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines. That could be in part related to the other studies being done earlier when we did not have these more severe variants. So in effect, I think it's not going to be much different. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine was 100% effective against admissions and mortality. So to me, that's the big one. You know, I'm not too concerned if I get a little bit of a runny nose. I'm more concerned not to get admitted to a hospital or dying. So having said that, you know, whichever vaccine you can get into your arm, that's probably going to be the one you need to get. As far as post-vaccination, so many people think, oh, I got my 2 shots, I'm good now, and they start not wearing their masks, and that is absolutely the wrong approach to take. We still know that people may contract COVID even after vaccination because the vaccine was really looking at symptomatic disease, not at asymptomatic disease. So you may still contract COVID. Plus, that's not taking into account the new variants that are coming out. And someday there's presumably going to be a variant that defeats the vaccine, just like we see with influenza, where we need a new vaccine every year. So, and on top of that, you can still transmit disease. So even if you don't become sick, you can still transmit it to other people, to loved ones that may not fare as well as you do. So I think wearing the mask is really going to be a necessity probably for the next 12, 18, 24 months into the future. Other drugs, we have the monoclonal antibodies that are now available for people who contract COVID and have risk factors. These are administered IV on an outpatient basis. What else? As far as my personal interest, ivermectin, the World Health Organization made an announcement last Friday that they are waiting on 2 additional studies. They felt that it was very promising, and they expect to make a further announcement regarding their position with this in the next 30 days. So, you know, I think it's becoming more and more prevalent as far as its use. Testing. Testing sites have closed, but testing is available in the community. So I don't think that's much of a concern. The fact that the city testing sites have migrated and some of them closed, I think there's plenty availability right now to get testing done. So I don't think that's an immediate concern. So if there are any questions, I'm sure I'll entertain them.
It's fantastic. I'd sent you 2 questions prior, Dr. Rader. One was the confusion or perception that the new, more infectious variety of mutations was less deadly was concerning. That is a misperception that needs to be further explained.
So, okay. So what we do know initially when the British mutation came out, the British government felt that it was going to be more contagious, but less dangerous, less lethal. And since then, the British government has made a 180 turnabout. And they're saying, no, not only is it more contagious, it is also more dangerous. Now, as far as the South African mutation is concerned, there have been less studies done by the South African government, but presumably the same would hold true over there. And we know that the Brazilian strain is definitely more contagious and also more dangerous. But having said that, based on the data that has been released in the past week, they expect to be about 4,000 different mutations out there right now. So, you know, what is what? In the US, we do not routinely monitor which variants are making its course. For example, in England, every 4th to 10th, I don't remember the exact number, a sample that comes back positive for COVID gets genetically tested so they can identify which mutation is prevalent in the community. That is not happening in the States. So we don't really know which mutation, which variant is currently more prevalent. But I can tell you in clinical practice, we definitely see different patterns occurring where some people stay febrile for a week, but do not drop their oxygen saturation, and other people don't have a fever, but we can get their oxygen saturation up. Other people are throwing lots of blood clots. So we definitely see seeing different type of symptomatology in some of these COVID patients that are admitted. So we definitely do see clinical practice.
So still, I mean, Dr. Getz shared this earlier, even if you're vaccinated, continue to wear masks. But it also, that was my second question to you. What is a safe mask these days? Because, you know, we can't get N95s, which is truly the safest filter. So what is your recommendation? Do we wear 3 layers? Is there a specific material? Is there any guidance as to what would keep us from, you know, getting infected with, you know, specific kinds of masks other than N95 to be
Okay,
safe?
so let's talk about N95. I would not encourage any of you except Dr. Goetz to wear an N95. Number one, you need to be trained on how to put it on. It's really a respirator. It is different from a regular mask. You need to form a perfect seal. If you do not form a perfect seal with that mask, it's as if you're not wearing it in the first place. So I would not encourage people to wear an N95. Actually, most people, if they were to wear an N95, they would feel exhausted within 1 or 2 hours of wearing it because of the filtration being so strong. It's really hard to breathe. If you wanted to be careful, more than the average person, I would say KN95, which is the Chinese equivalent of an N95. It's a little bit less stringent than the N95 as far as filtration, but way more than regular surgical masks. So it's called KN95. Usually they have 4 to 5 layers, depending on the manufacturer facility. Once again, for many people, wearing a KN95 all day would be exhausting. The best option, in my opinion, is to wear a good fitting mask, not necessarily a surgical mask because they leak from everywhere, but something that fits the face, well, and don't touch the mask with your hands before cleaning. So first clean your hands, then the mask. I see too many people just pulling their masks off, having their hand inside of the mask, which is an absolute no-no, because now you contaminated the part that touches your face. So I think the more important part is to wear it. The exact type of mask for the general population is a little bit less concerning. If you want to go extreme, get a KN95. Otherwise, just wearing a regular, well-fitting mask is probably the best option.
Fantastic. Do you have time to take a few questions before you go? Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
so we have Marilyn asking, where can you get an antibody test that is safe, that is acceptably safe? Dr. Getz is asking implications of long-term COVID in the asymptomatic infected. And I believe Dennis Ulmer had his hand up. So those are the 3 questions we've got for you. And Dennis is to be asked.
Okay, so let's take them in the order. The antibody test. A while ago, I shared the list of all the different ones. Now, I believe even Costco right now is selling a antibody test you can run. They are very, very simple to do. I mean, you can get them online. Once again, you know, they are not necessarily, you know, 9% or 95%. They are maybe like 80, 90%, but it's better than nothing. Usually, most of the ones you do at home are prick. You use the same that you would do for measuring your blood sugar. You would prick your finger, put drops of blood into one little port, and then put a few drops of a developer in a separate port. And 5 minutes, it tells you if you have either IgM, which is acute infection with COVID, or IgG, which is a prior exposure to COVID. These tests are widely available. As I said, I believe even Costco is selling them now. You can get them on Amazon. You can get them pretty much everywhere. It's not a big deal. As far as the second question was...
implications of the asymptomatic.
Oh, yes, implication. Well, let me give you the story of a 26-year-old lady that I'm seeing right now. She has now been readmitted today for the 3rd time. 26 years old, healthy, no medical problems. About 6 months ago, she had asymptomatic COVID, really didn't do much, you know. She might have had a little bit of a scratchy throat, runny nose, got tested, was positive, sent her home. And, she had a fever for a few days, major. Really, for the most part, what would be considered asymptomatic. So this drops out of medical attention for 4 months, and about 2 months ago shows up again. She required oxygen. At the admission, they did her kidney function. She has stage 4 chronic kidney disease, meaning she has lost well over 50% of her kidney function. At that point, because she could not breathe, I got a CT of the chest. She had severe inflammation of both lungs. The pulmonary function test and her lung capacity was down to 33% or 36%, I don't remember, of what would be expected for a woman her age, her height. That means she had lost close to 70% of lung function. Since then, this lady has been readmitted to the hospital twice. She's not going to do well long term. She's not an exception. I'm seeing every day 1 or 2 long haulers in the office now. The numbers are actually increasing. Long haulers are people that had COVID, might have been symptomatic or not, and now have chronic health issues. I've spoken to nephrology friends of mine. They're seeing chronic kidney disease in some of these patients. I've spoken to cardiologists, and they're seeing heart disease as well. So COVID is not something to be ignored. I was even speaking to the CEO of my facility last Friday. And, during the discussion, I told her, I'm 52 right now. I can work another, effectively think, 12, 13 years. We're probably, hopefully, God willing, longer, but I don't know if I'm going to want to do that. So let's say 12, 13 years. Those next 1 to 2 years, it's going to be COVID in the hospital. The next 10 years subsequent to that is likely going to be taking care of people that had COVID and now had long-term disease. So I still reiterate, anybody in my book that tests positive for COVID, I put them on an anti-inflammatory regimen because I don't know. I cannot tell you which one of those patients is going to be the one that does well and doesn't require any further care, and which one is the one that's going to deteriorate and get admitted to ICU, or which one is the one going to be that develops symptoms in 6 months from now. So I treat every last one of them with the anti-inflammatory regimen just for that very reason.
Fantastic. Dennis, you have your hand up. Last question to you.
Yes, doctor. Prior to my first Pfizer vaccination, I took acetaminophen for back pain. I didn't know that that was recommended that you not do that. Does it really make a difference?
No.
Thank you.
No. Because now after you get the vaccine, you can take acetaminophen or ibuprofen to control your local symptoms, your fever. Some people get severe joint pain, severe site reaction, a small price to pay, granted, but still, quite uncomfortable. And those people can take acetaminophen or ibuprofen to control those symptoms.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, JJ, so much. I really appreciate you taking the time, and please, please, please stay safe, okay?
Thank you. Stay safe, everybody.
We'll see you hopefully next month.
God willing, yes. Bye.
Okay. Bye. Okay, everybody, we're down to for the good of the order, and I do want to share something that's happening that I think is going to be tied into upcoming meeting agenda speakers. As you all know, we're not doing Neighbor Support Night this year, that big event in the garage with all the different departments, and it's just really fun. So the council will be highlighting different departments throughout the year and with their functions, what they do. Next month, we have Dr. Glassman coming. She actually wants to talk about ordinance change for seawalls, but we might ask her to lean into broadly speaking about climate resiliency and what we're doing from a city standpoint, and also getting ready for flood season ahead of flood season, rather than being in the midst of it and having to deal with it as an emergency. In April, we have Ben Rogers from Transportation, who will be speaking about the, kind of the reorg of TAM now that MPO has handed back transportation planners to the city. So we'll be doing that throughout the year. So this is a youth climate summit that is coming up, and I only show it to you tonight for 2 reasons. One is the deadline for students in grades 5 through 12 is tomorrow. So you have kids, grandkids, nieces, nephews, make sure your teachers, your kids know about this, because, and this is one of the things I'm most excited by, the keynote speaker is Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson. And, you know, he's a huge coup to get as a speaker, but it's a 3-day virtual summit for youth. So I don't even know if adults are allowed, but it's a fantastic opportunity. So just sharing that out, we'll share that in our announcements, but the deadline is tomorrow. And then the very last thing before we adjourn is, let me share this. Thank you all very much. We hope that you will come back month after month. We hope that, as Mary started out the meeting by saying, that we are a part of, that we're stronger together. We are sending you lots of love, and your neighbors and your residents in your community. Please share out and do the same. We wish you a beautiful and safe and wonderful Valentine's Day. So with that, I will call for an adjournment unless anybody has anything else to add at this point. Okay, we will adjourn the meeting.
I have something, Colleen.
Who's that?
This is John Burns.
Hi, John.
On the Happy Valentine's Day theme, I will remind everybody that the city has appointed a programmer for the parks down on the beach. And on the 14th of Valentine's Day, they're having you can get married on top of the new parking garage. They're having a complete Valentine's Day celebration on top of the Las Olas garage. And the next weekend, I think it's the 21st or 22nd, it's a Sunday, they're having a Fur the Love of Pets festival in the new Las Olas Intercoastal Park. And all those are located on the websites that are promoting Fort Lauderdale. So you can take your significant other or take your dog and have a nice time on Valentine's Day.
Or they could be one and the same, John, right? So John, if you wouldn't mind, if you have details for that, if you could shoot that over by email, we'll blast it out as well. That's great.
I'll do it. If there's anybody that wants to get married within this group, perhaps we can have some proposals tonight.
Okay, John, thank you very much. Anybody else?
You know, I regret, shucks, I'm already taken. What a venue for a wedding. Wow.
I know, the top of the garage.
All right, so John, have you done a 60-second round robin? I know Bill did it a while ago. Do you want to do it next month?
Sure. I mean, I know Bill did one last week, which is why I didn't raise my hand.
Okay, I'm adding you to the list because you're going to be great. All right, fantastic. All right, anybody else? Any final parting thoughts? And we have our next general meeting on March 9th. So we look forward to seeing you all then. Thank you all for being here and have a great evening. And hats off and kudos once again to Mary Peliquin's beautiful presentation. Thank you.
Bravo.
Oh, Mary. Woohoo, thank you. Have a good night, everybody.
Good Thank you, Colleen.
Thank you.
Great
Bye.
meeting.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.